Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Cricket Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me right now is Clay Smith, the head coach of the St. George's Cricket Club. And we will be joined later in the show by the captain of the Somerset Cricket Club, Jordan De Silva. Well, Clay, 113 all out and then 222. Just never near enough of what you needed. You won the toss on Thursday morning. Give us a sense of what the plan was going into this game now that it's over.
Well, to be honest, it was a very simple plan. Let's go out there and bat, put up 250 to 300 runs, all depending on the time that it takes for us to do that. Which would have determined when we would declare on what we would declare on, and try and build them out and have at least a 50, 60 run lead so that the second day we can go and really play in a form of a 30 to 40 over game. And you know what I mean? Because we have the batsmen that can go out there and score fast runs, you know. But our first innings really didn't. I mean, it's strange because we were at one stage 72 for 2. So we were in a very good position. And I think we lost like 4 wickets in the space of maybe 3 runs, you know. That really summed up the whole entire match. That turned the whole match upside down for us and changed the dynamics of it altogether.
Now, as you know, from you scene, as the rut's starting to set in, losing those 4 wickets, and it was 2 runs because you went from 72 for 2 to 74 for 6.
Yeah.
As the rut started, what sort of how do you change obviously the plan's got to change a little bit because now you have to stabilize for a little bit. So what was the talk amongst you? Obviously the captain's out, but the players to try to then get a respectable score, something that you can defend the first inning.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. It's about damage control there, isn't it? Moving to 74 to 6 was like, listen, let's see if we can at least get to 150. If we can get to 150, it gives our bowler something to bowl at, and it minimizes the overall deficit. You know, if they score 200 or 250, is only chasing 100 as opposed to 170. You know, so we had some guys go in and put their heads down and try to get a good score, but it just didn't materialize. It never materialized, unfortunately.
Well, clearly, Somerset's first inning and your second inning showed there was clearly nothing wrong with the wicket. It was just more of an application. Was that more of a mental application where St. George's in that first inning went from a comfortable position to a very, very uncomfortable position and then being built all up?
I think it was just a lapse of concentration, to be quite honest. You look at, I think I'll start with Chante. You know, he was sad. He was in. Nothing seemed to bother him. And then, you know, out of the blue, Kamar decides, so now I'm going to bounce him to try and see if he'll take me on. And he did. And he just mishit it. And from there, the skipper went to the wicket, played 1 or 2 balls, looked comfortably, and then hit this off drive straight to mid-off, just to the left of the player, not realizing that it's Derek Brinkman and is left-handed. So, you know, tried to get a single that, you know, Derek hit the stumps, which really started the ball rolling, you know. Treddy was next. Kamar again, we talked about it, you know, he has his slower ball and he took a little bit off and got a lead in the edge. And then Chinky went in and got LBW right after that. You know, these things happen in cricket, unfortunately. You know, that's the sport. That's the nature of the sport. But then we see had guys like Rodney to come in and Sinclair and Zico. As you saw, Zico on the second day was able to score 50. You know, had he got that score on the first day for us, we probably would have been in a much better position. But yeah, it just didn't materialize, unfortunately.
Now, clearly, you're out with less runs than you anticipated, and Now Somerset have a lot of time to kind of sun you for the afternoon, and build up a total. Um, what was the plan? Obviously, you wanted to build them out, but you also wanted to restrict as many runs as possible over a period of time to, and not getting any wickets. So changing around the bowlers, what was that like, to ensure that, both Sinclair and Chris and Taryn, they look very comfortable. I mean, looking at their score.
Yeah, they did. But if you recall, we dropped Chris very early when he was probably on about 15 or 20, something like that, out to mid wickets. He could drop one. That sort of put us back, because when we in our meetings, one of the things we talked about, and I emphasized to the guys, is that in order for us to win cup match, we must minimize our mistakes. You cannot win cup match making 3 and 4 mistakes. So right off the bat, that was a huge mistake, because we know Taryn and Chris, they very seldom give you chances. So if they give you a chance, you have to take it. That put us back quite a bit, But once we did break that partnership up, if you notice, we got about 3 or 4 wickets back to back to back to back, and they were all of a sudden, the momentum shifted back in our favor. Even though they still had a good bit of runs, the momentum of the game started to shift. And I think it was Dion that came in and settled things down. We had a really, really good LBW shout for him, and he was on about 6 runs. And we watched the video back over and over, and I'm like, the umpire said to hit him outside off stump. But if you look, the first thing Dion did, he reacted. He hit the ball. So it was unfortunate, those type of things, those type of decisions obviously change matches. You know what I mean? You think of Dion, if he gives Dion out, and instead of him getting 110, he's out for 6. Again, the dynamics of the game changes again. But I'm a batsman's umpire as well. Even when I play, when we're in training, I always think if the umpire has any doubt, you should give the benefit of the doubt to the batsman. So I don't have no gripes with his decision where that's concerned. Because when you think about it, over the 2 days, there were a lot of decisions. These umpires they had a tough 2 days. I'm going to be honest with you. We had Kamal Labrock's out, run out. I've seen it over and over and over and over. And to be quite honest, I couldn't, by the naked eye, you cannot really make a decision, that went in our favor. So there are some decisions that went in our favor. There are other decisions that went against us, but that's cricket, isn't it? That's cricket. So it is what it is, But yeah. I think the conversation that really needs to be had right now is after this cup match, with so much money being invested in this 2-day spectacle, is it time for us to go into replays and having the third umpire with the cameras and all that? I think it's something that really needs to be discussed between the 2 clubs. I don't know what type of funding it will cost to have it in place, but it's a benefit for both teams, if you ask me.
Yeah, on that note, I mean, they went from 108 without laws, and they were soon 121 for 5. Clearly, you just mentioned the fact that trying to get, almost getting Dion on 6, but he goes on. It would appear that, just like anything else in Bermuda cricket, and you've seen it enough times, once a team gets over that hurdle of being in trouble, and the fielding team feels like, okay, we're now back in this mood of we can't get them, the body language tells a big difference, and the shoulders drop, and that's when the biggest mistakes happen, because people tend to drift out of the game in their mind, and they're not paying attention anymore. So how do we change that mindset, that it keeps the players in tune more regularly?
It's funny you say that, Earl, because one of the discussions we had as a team was, was the catching. And I'll tell you why, because we had done catching. We've had some catching competitions and everything within our team. We're hitting catches in training and guys are not dropping nothing. Then, and perfect example was Colts Cup match, for example. We had some of the youngsters hitting catches, and guys are taking great catches or whatever. But then they get in the game, and I think what happens is our players, because they're not expecting the ball to come to them every single time. And I think that's where the lapse comes in, because players get caught up in the crowd. You're looking around, you're talking, you're getting distracted. And I emphasize to the guys, one thing I talk to them about, I said, listen, it's okay to look around and socialize or whatever when the ball's dead. Once that bowler hits his mark and he turns and run in, you have to now switch back on and focus on the ball. You know what I mean? And I think that's the small little areas of things that we have to fine tune, because guys have to know when to switch on and when to switch off, especially at cup match, because it's a very long time that you're out on the field. And if you're trying to concentrate every single minute and every single ball, it's impossible, so you have to know when to switch off. But the minute I tell him, once that bowler turns at his mark to run into bowl, you have to switch on and stay switched on. You know what I mean? And we'll find that we'll make less mistakes doing it like that. But yeah, you can talk about it, but at the end of the day,
they have to go out and execute it.
Actually doing it is something totally different,
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the strategy, especially in the first inning. You opened with Allen and Trelly. And everyone knows Allen on his day can be very explosive. He's a I get you or you get me type of guy. What was the plan if he went early to change any batting lineup? That, you know what I mean, to try and now build an inning as opposed to allow Somerset to continue on a vein of, you got an early wicket, now you feel like you're on top.
Our batting lineup on the first day was pretty much set in stone. The only time it would have changed is if we got off to a really good start. Like for instance, we knew that Alan Douglas has the ability to hit anybody up the build attack, simple as that, on his day. If he gets off to a flyer, you had OJ was always going to maintain it at 3, but then we would have probably pushed Onias up in front of Jonte at 4, to make sure that we can keep scoring at a decent rate, because ideally, you want to declare as quickly as possible. You want to get to 250 to 300 runs as quickly as possible. So if we would have got off to the start that we would have liked, that would have probably been the only change that we would have made. I mean, I can't say that really, because it depends on how Onias would have went on, because then you see somebody like Zico. Zico may have pushed up and really excelled his scoring rate and got out of there as early as possible, but it never happened, It is what it is. Obviously, people will judge that decision. I've heard people say, "Oh, well, we know Allen shouldn't have a batter there. He scores runs with the white ball. The white ball doesn't swing as much as the red ball." Well, I mean, we put him at number 5. He didn't score runs there neither. So it is what it is. I think I hold my hand up. I'm the one that makes the tough decisions. When it works out, you look like a genius. When it doesn't, hey, it is what it is.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, you had said something prior to the game in our last interview about, you're looking down the road, you're looking at a 3-year plan. And I want to ask about that 3-year plan. Is it still on track after this game, or has that goalpost kind of moved? But we'll talk about that when we come back. We'll be right back.
No problem.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Welcome back. Well, obviously today we have questions, and one of them would be, why did you win the toss and bat? It's either one or two things you could do when you're in the toss.
Well, you know what? Let's keep it real. Some said it's a batting track. Some said it's a batting track. The last thing we wanted to do is win the toss and field and let Somerset go out there and score 300-400 runs and have us in the sun all day. Like I said, the plan was simply to win the toss, put them in the field, go out there, score 250-300 runs. They would have been fielding out for at least 3 to 4 hours. Wear and tear. But let's keep it real. We're talking about amateur sportsmen who, some of them are in good shape or whatever, but being out in the field for 4 hours in the hot sun, we would hope that it would take a lot out of their mental state of minds. And then with that score, we would really be able to attack them aggressively and hopefully, again, blow them out for at least 50 to 60 runs less than what we got. It's a chance we took. It didn't work. But hey, like you said, you can only win the toss and bat or win the toss and field. So yeah. But it's lesson, you as players and coaches, we sit down and we will have a postmortem. We revisit all of those type of decisions and come back next year and probably have a different plan or have a similar plan, depending, next year where it's in Georgia. So things may change a bit. It just depends. Because obviously going to St. George's, Valentine Noble, we have the option of producing a wicket that will suit us as opposed to them having a wicket that suits them.
Mm-hmm. So let's get to that what I was talking about prior, where the last show before Cup Match you were talking about you have a 3-year plan to wrestle this cup away from Somerset. But if it happened on Thursday and Friday, it happened, but the ultimate goal was a 3-year plan. So with that in mind, are you still on track with that 3-year plan? And is that like the club? Is that like the club plan?
It's my plan as a coach. As a coach and as a team, this is what I've preached to my players pretty much as to the direction that I want to take this club. More so the captain and the selection committee, this is the direction that I feel that we need to take. Last year, if you notice, we blooded 2 youngsters, Jamar Stubble and Isaiah Greaves. This year, it was Jonte and Jordan. Next year, you look at, and also you look at this year, we had our reserves, young Jared Richardson and Zarai Tomlinson. We wanted to give them a little feel of what the atmosphere is like. These guys are knocking on the door. I anticipate that they will probably be in the lookout for trying to get into the team for next year. So every year you're looking to breed 2 or 3 youngsters. You have people like Anzari Painter, who's a very promising young player coming through. So you're trying to get as much of these guys' experience over the next 2 years as possible, so that when you do really make that. But the other thing, the trick is somewhere along the line, we have to have what I call a foundation of 6 to 7 players that are your core, that build your core. You know what I mean? And then work around that. So. But the problem I'm finding mostly out is with my St. George's player, the biggest problem I'm finding is the inconsistency, I think, from week to week. Because one week this guy can go out there and score 80, and the next week he's scoring 5. Our batsmen have been, and I pretty much, to be honest, it's all across the whole island. If you look at the scores, there's nobody that's really been scoring runs on a consistent basis, But so it makes it difficult to pick players. You know what I mean? It makes it difficult when it comes to picking teams. I wish we had, like back in the day, that was the one thing about back in the day. You always used to have the tables that was posted, and somewhere along the line they would have the batting averages and bowling averages of everybody. So from week to or month to month, you would be able to say, okay, who's top of the batting averages now? Who's top of the bowling averages? And you can see this. I'll be honest with you, me personally, I've been doing that for my team. I do that myself so that I know every single player's batting average, all the players that I was interested in seeing, I followed them week to week as to how much they scored, how many runs they got. So I was able to pull all of this information up so I can look at it and I can see the inconsistencies. And it makes it very difficult when it comes to picking teams because you may want to pick somebody, and at the end of the day, you look at the average and they're only averaging like 10, 15 runs as a batsman, and you're saying, well, how do you drop somebody? How do you pick somebody, especially as a coach, if they're only averaging like 10 runs or 15 runs or whatever the case may be, or they only got about 6 wickets going into cup match, and you play cricket all season. So although they're promising, you have to have some sort of stats behind your name to say that, you know what, and what you're looking for, I guess, as a coach, is consistency, it's consistency. So, yeah.
Now, I've been toying with this for a number of years, and I'm glad I got an opportunity to kind of ask you and make maybe it's something you can, collectively cricket could think about. But Cup Match is our biggest event held every year, and I think preparation for it has gone wayward for both clubs. When you were playing, you had five trial matches and so forth to try and make this team. Having 3 is one thing, but what is the thought process of on Saturdays playing a select team of open cricket as trials? And you could do that from when the season starts, who's available, who's not available, because you could actually use them as trial and then use the concept of Cup Match, the time and everything to give play. It would give you a different look at a player. He can go more than 10 overs in a day. That batsman could take his time, set it in, and it also improves the domestic cricket around. But it will give you a little more time to have a look at a player, and that player feel like I'm not rushed to make runs in a trial match, and then turn around and if I fail, I can't get myself back up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It does allow a lot more cricket festival to be played. But the problem that we're finding, that I find with all of that is that, because was it last year or the year before? Last year, I think it was. We in St. George, we had at least 3 trial matches, and you find that a lot of the trials tend to be what I call watered down. People don't take them as seriously. Right now, be honest with you, if they know that the final trial is the be all end all. Like if they have to score runs, it's the final trial. You know what I mean? People know that I can have a mediocre season and come to the final trial, and if I score 80 or 90 or whatever, I stand a good chance of being picked. I don't think we over the years have valued the other trial matches as much, but it's nothing wrong with having them. But we basically need to emphasize the seriousness of them to the players. You know what I mean? Because obviously some guys work Saturdays, so you're not getting all the players that you may want to see. So it's difficult. It's very difficult. There were times when in the past, not this year too much, but in the past where we used to have games against Bayless Bay, the Cal Wade thing, we used to have games against St. David's. But as time went on, again, you found that you're playing some of these clubs and they're not playing the full teams. They're playing some of the youngsters and giving them some exposure or whatever. So it's not really having the same value that you really need it to be for a cup match trial. So yeah.
I just thought of it because I didn't just think of it. I just felt it was even the Eastern County teams could use it as trials for their counties because the game on those days, including cup match and the Eastern County especially.
Let me explain. Let me share something with you, just so that we had to highlight exactly what I'm saying. This year, for instance, we tried to have a game. We had a game against St. David's the week before their first Connie Cup against Flats, and we had, I think we had 14 players picked. So we had 11 plus extra 3. St. David showed up with 8 players. So the 3 players that we had to give them to St. David so that we can have 11 for 11. That just highlights exactly what I'm trying to say, where it's very difficult because other teams don't take it as seriously as we take it. So it makes life a little more challenging to try and have those trial matches. You know what I mean? And I would have thought because it was the week before Eastern County, first Eastern County, that they would have came over there ripping and roaring with a strong team, and so but that wasn't to be the case. So it is what it is, and it makes it a little bit more challenging, but we push on, and we have to continue to push on.
You mentioned earlier about the technology being used. How do you think that, if ever implemented, how do you think that enhances the game, a one-off game, or do you think it should be used in so that everybody that is using the technology understands it? Because you can't just say, "Oh, well, you use it for cup match," and the person that's viewing it is viewing it for the first time, and mistakes are made. Well,
just like anything, you have your trial and error period or whatever. You may, even if you have to use it as Connie Cup as a pre-trial so that they can be familiar with it or whatever the case may be. But it's extremely important. And I'll say this to you, and I don't want the general public to get me wrong here, because it's not. Like I said, there were decisions that went in our favor and there were decisions that went against us, so I'm just thinking for the betterment of the game. But if you look over the years, I find that a lot of players, I have to be very careful when I say this. I find that a lot of our top players, umpires are very lenient with when it comes to the LBW's decisions. That's just my opinion. And again, I may have it wrong, but you notice when people go abroad and they get hit LBW, umpires are giving them out, on a consistent basis. So these things happen, you know what I mean? It is what it is, but yeah, what can I say? What can I say? I just think it would overall benefit the game of cricket in Bermuda on our 2-day holiday. Sure.
I want to take another commercial break, and I got one more question when we come back, and then I can let you go. And that is, what else needs to happen to sort of encourage more people to play the game of cricket in Bermuda? We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Tell you, as a former national coach, and you deal a lot with the youth, what is needed to I guess rejuvenate and bring more youngsters into the game, because it is dwindling. It's dwindling fast.
Yes, it is, Earl. And to answer your question, and I'm going to be blunt, so excuse me ahead of time for being blunt, but we need more passionate people who are willing to do. We have people that are passionate about cricket, but they talk a lot about it, but they don't do. They don't. When it comes time to getting the things, the nitty gritty, and making things happen, it doesn't happen. They can talk, they can lay out everything for you, but to actually put it and implement it, it's not happening. We need more passionate people who can make things happen with regards to our youngsters in Bermuda. Just this summer, give you an example. There are so many kids out there, Earl, that want to play this game of cricket. If you look at how many people ran onto the field the other day up at Somerset, how many youngsters, both Somerset and St. George's, they're keen cricket lovers, but we have to present, we have to lay out something for them to want to be a part of. You know what I mean? And I'll give you a small example. This summer, I was wrestling, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I was wrestling with the fact for the last 2 years I've been working with the BCBC camp up at Warwick Academy. And they have about 20, 25 kids easy, and I'm sitting there saying, I'm looking at St. George's, I'm saying, all these kids in St. George's, let me do something down there. And it wasn't until about a month before the summer came out that I started to advertise for a summer camp down St. George's. I got easily 20 kids. Within 1 month, I had 20 kids. So I mean, if I had probably made the decision maybe 2 months out, I would probably had about 25, 30 kids easily. There are kids out there that want to play this game, but we have to have something. We have to open up and have things for these kids to do. We have to put it out there for them to do, and we have to be willing to do the hard work, because we can't just say we want to do this. I get so sick and tired of hearing we need more cricket in schools. We need more. Everybody knows this, but what are we doing to make it happen? What are we really doing? Like our top athletes, cricketers, ex-cricketers, guys need to get involved. We need more people involved. We should have a cricket camp up in Somerset. Back in the day, we would have at least 4 different locations: Southampton Rangers, Western Stars. Why can't we still have cricket camps throughout the whole island? There are children out there that want to play cricket, but we do not present the opportunities for them, for whatever reasons. And it doesn't always have to be the BCBC that does it. What's wrong with individuals like clubs or individuals coming out and saying, you know what, I want to do something for the youngsters. Let me open up a camp up in Somerset. There's tons of kids up there. Western Stars, I could go across different places, but I just think we as a country just sit back and we watch, we talk about this, we talk about that, and everybody just talks, but we don't do. We have to do more. We have to do better. We present. Mercy. Yeah.
Final question. Deportment. We over the years in cup match, in cricket in general, we've seen the deportment of players go way down. And as you indicated at the beginning of the show, there's a lot of money that goes into the game of cup match. How do we ensure deportment is better throughout the 2 days and for time to come?
Well, it boils down to the clubs. I'll be honest with you. It boils down to Somerset and St. George's coming together and putting out a plan as to what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. When I say what is acceptable, meaning level 1, level 2, level 3. And yeah, we have to be consistent. We have experienced people like Roger Deal, for example. He's a match referee. This guy's been around the world, umpired at the highest level. He knows what is what. You know what I mean? He can sit there we have to stop penalizing guys. And if it comes, and this is the one game, I'll say this is the one game in Bermuda where players do get funding, they get paid. Yeah. So yeah, some of these guys, majority of these guys have been at the international level, whereby when they do XYZ, they know that they're going to be either suspended for a game or something comes out of the pay. They know that. And I'm talking about, I can recall, I'll give you a slight example. For instance, one game we was playing somebody, I think it was Canada, and one of our players got out and he just looked at the umpire, like turned and looked and like put his hands up, like say, "What? I didn't hit the ball." And just that was a level 1 offense, basically a warning. Just that little thing was a warning. You know what I mean? So if players know that there are things in place where they're going to either get penalized or fined, that would restrict a lot of what you see. You know what I mean? But then also you have to be consistent with it.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. And that's what I mean. I don't know. Yeah, you have to be consistent with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping that Jordan does join us momentarily. I did get a message from him. He had something to do, but he was coming on. Take us through that first time, because again, I have to say this. Let's separate you from being the coach to being dad now. Your son's walking to the wicket, first inning. Take us through the emotion that goes through you as you watch that.
Oh, what can I say? I just sat there and I was just praying, just saying, Lord, let him get off the mark, let him get a single, And then it was all about, you know what? I really wanted him to show Bermuda why we did pick him to begin with, because obviously, you hear all the talk about friends and family, this and that and all that. And I don't pay it no mind, but you can't help but have it in the back of your mind, and obviously he's been playing football. You just wish him the best. You want him to be successful, just so that it can ease a lot of that type of tension and pressure, yeah. So watching him from from a father's point of view was harder than a coach's point of view. Because from a coach's point of view, I know he's ready. Because this boy, since he's been back, I'll tell you this: he started playing cricket about 6 weeks ago, and up until now, he has not missed one single session, not one. He's been to every single session, and on top of that, between Randall and myself, we've given him sessions, training sessions on days. For instance, we had summer camp this year, so we were going to a camp at 8 o'clock, and Randall would meet him at 8 o'clock, and he'll hit tennis balls until 9 o'clock or 8:30, half an hour before camp starts, or you know what I mean. So he's put in his extras. So I knew he was ready. It wasn't a matter of whether he was ready or not, because he has the mental capacity to deal with whatever they was going to throw at him, and he had the right approach. Just wanted the best for him, but yeah. It was interesting. It was interesting because it's been a goal of his for a long, long, long time. And like he would tell you, he didn't expect it to happen this fast, But part of the reason was when he started coming back and playing, he started with a low 18, and he got 20, he got 30, he got 40, and he's just been consistently getting better and better as he went along, And then on top of that, he can, as you show in cup match, he can bowl some. So he has all-round ability, is a very good fielder. And when you're trying to balance out your team, to win cup match, you need as many bowlers, many people in your team that can bat and bowl, that can do both, So, yeah.
Give me your thoughts on the Somerset team. They've been consistent in that team for the last few years. Gennaro has left, as well as Jacon, but they've been consistent with the team they have. So what's your thoughts on that Somerset team?
I think they have a very, very solid team, but me as a coach, I focus on two particular players that make that team. Actually, three players make that team tick more than anybody, and that is that's Taryn Frey and Chris Douglas up top. Those two set the tempo for them at the top. They give them that solid foundation, and then you have Dion Stubble in the middle, who has been the rock. He's that guy that even if you get through that top water, he's going to come and steady the ship for him, because everybody else, Kamar's the type of guy. He can be devastating, but you always think you may have a chance of getting him out because he's an aggressive type of player, So those type of players you look for to get a chance. You know what I mean? He can single-handedly blow you away if he gets going. There's no doubt about it. But I think the Dion Star was the type of guy. He breaks the game down, and he understands always assessing situations, and he bats according to the situation. I think he's the one person in that team that's keeping them really together. You know what I mean? But as a bowling unit, I think that the bowling unit is probably underestimated more than anything. They have a very good bowling unit. When you think of Kamara and Malachi, and then you have Greg Mabry, and I think Greg's probably the most underrated bowler in Bermuda. This guy continuously bowls well on a consistent basis. One thing you're going to get from Greg is 100% effort every single day. When he shows up, you don't have to worry about is Greg going to bowl 5 overs and get tired and go off the field because he needs a break. Greg's going to bowl and run in and bowl and run in and bowl and run in and bowl. He's fit. He takes care of his body, And then they're backed by the two spinners, Derek and Dion again. These guys have been consistently getting wickets and causing us trouble, So it's not like league cricket. And that's the one thing I try to emphasize to my players. It's not like league cricket where you get a team would have maybe 2 or 3 good bowlers, and then they have to build the fourth or fifth bowler, which is going to be probably substandard, and you can look to capitalize over them. Cup match, you got all good bowlers pretty much. So you have to learn to score off of good bowls. That's the key. Can we score off of a good bowl? So that's it. They make it very tough for you. They make it very tough, and yeah. But I keep preaching to my guys. I said these guys are human, man. They're human. Like, come on, let's not get don't allow them to, because right now what's happening is some because they're winning it breeds confidence. It breeds confidence. Let's be real. It breeds confidence. When you win consistently, it breeds confidence. They're confident, their fans are confident, and you know what I mean? So it makes a big difference having that level of confidence in you, because even when you think you got them on the ropes, somebody will step up to the plate. You know what I mean? So we're gonna find ways to break them down. We will find ways to break them down. Trust me, I'm not giving up on this thing. It's not gonna be easy, but yeah, when you think about it, back in the day when St. George's was St. George's, the Somerset fans were going through exactly what we're going through right now. I mean, the only thing is they have even longer periods that they had to go through it. You know what I mean? So every year goes by, it becomes more and more frustrating because I was part of that unit that helped to cause Somerset all the pain back in the day. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like being on top. You know what I mean? So now I have to find ways to break them down. That's just the same way that they had to break us down. Yeah, they built a team. The team that they have right now, if you think about it, before they actually won the cup their first year, they had lost about 5 or 6 years together as a team, but they stuck with that. Majority, they had that core team. They kept them together, and they built. Even though they were losing, they still stuck with those players. And I think that's the one thing that we can learn from them is trying to have that core of players that you just build off of, and I'm stick with them, because in 4 or 5, like I said, in 3 or 4 years' time, they're going to be the core of our St. George's team. You know what I mean? So we're trying to do exactly what they did to us, pretty much build a team of youngsters that are coming through that. But again, it boils down to our youngsters being consistent and learning as they go along. We're trying to just give as much exposure as possible. So hopefully when the time comes, when we do beat them, that we're able to now sustain and have a duration of another 10 years of success as well.
Okay, I want to thank you very much for your time. We're going to take a commercial break, and hopefully Jordan De Silva, the Somerset captain, can join us during that commercial break. But Clay, again, thank you very much. I always say it's always good when in defeat you're able to explain, just circumstances, because a lot of people will think, oh, you should go and hide, you should quit and so forth. But it's one of the things where you have to set a plan. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. It hasn't worked for the last few years. Now we have another 300 and what is it now? 63 days or 61 days.
360, whatever month of days.
Yeah, 361 days to figure out another plan, but it also comes down to on the day. You could have a plan and it backfire right away, and then you have to change it. So that's why we play the game of cricket.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the important thing for us right now is to have a postmortem, so that we can sit down and we can reflect on the things we did well, things that we definitely need to improve upon, so that next year we're one step ahead. We're moving forward. We have to just keep moving forward and closing the gap. And that's pretty much all we can do. I think it's key that we have a postmortem and reflect on this whole situation. And if changes need to be made, and we go from there. And that could be, I don't know. I'm easy, I trust me. I'm not going to give up on what I know my vision. But if it comes down to me being the wrong person in charge, then hey, so be it. Somebody else, they feel somebody else can do a better job, then that is what it is. But I like to believe that St. George's has given me the job because they feel that I'm capable of doing what I have to do. And I think my stats over the years has shown that, I'm capable of definitely winning this trophy back. But it's important that we just reflect. We reflect, we learn, and we move forward. That's all it's about. All
right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to take a commercial break, and as I said, hopefully Jordan De Silva can join us after the commercial break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome back. Well, okay, I see you stayed. So let me ask you about obviously a relationship you would have with other coaches, and especially Jeff Richardson. You can say when he took over, Somerset were building, and he kind of helped to put that icing on the cake. So what's your thoughts on someone like Jeff and what he's been able to do with that Somerset team?
Yeah, it's impressive. It's very impressive. You know what I mean? Jeff and I have been friends from way back in when we played for Bermuda. We were both part of the Bermuda team back in the day, and we've had a friendly relationship ever since then. But as a coach, it's been impressive what he's done with that group. It's funny because one thing I have learned from him and his Somerset people up there is that for some reason, and this is something that we in St. George's really have to look at, is that why is it that they seem to be attracting more players to their club than us? I'm talking about like you get players from Bayless Bay that will go to Somerset, players from St. David's that will go to Somerset. It baffles me, but clearly we have to look at that and ask ourselves a question. What is it that they're doing, or what is it that they're offering that we aren't offering or we aren't doing? You know what I mean? It's interesting. It's very interesting. But I take my hat off to him because he's done a very good job up there. He's done a very good job. Yeah.
What was the conversation with you and Onias after the game? Because obviously you have a close relationship with the captain. You guys sit down and devise a plan. He has to have executed out on the field. You once the first ball's billed, kind of you're a spectator too, kind of thing, because he becomes the leader on and off the field. So what type of conversation was it after the game with you and the captain?
Well, to be quite honest, there was a lot of emotions, after all that the St. George's community has been through this past year. There was a lot of emotions, there was a really lot of emotions. And, I just said, hey, Skip, don't worry yourself. We're going to have our turn, we're going to have our turn. But one thing I do like to do, I just said, listen, just look at these guys, look at this celebration, look at them celebrating. I always want my players to see it, because when they see it, it makes it a little bit easier for them to think and reflect on, because I want them to vision themselves in that same position, winning the trophy. You know what I mean? I want them to see it. I talked to them. That's one thing I kept talking to them about prior to it. You know, see yourselves lifting this trophy. It's going to happen. It's going. So you're just preaching and breathing confidence back into them. You know, we understand it's going to be tough for them. It was very tough, to be quite honest with you. The whole change room was somber. You know what I mean? It was very difficult, you know, but all I do is try and lift them up and say, guys, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. We will have our turn. We just have to continue working hard. We haven't worked hard enough. We have to continue working hard, and we will have our turn. Just have to believe it. We have to believe that we will have our turn. You know what I mean? Just go back to the drawing board. And ask yourselves, what can I do better? What can I do different? What can I do better? You know what I mean? And we go from there. We come back next year. We work harder. We improve upon the things that we need to improve on, and we make a go at it again next year.
All right. Well, Clay, thank you very much for joining, folks. We'll be back next week, Sunday, with another edition of the Island Stats Cricket Show. My co-host, Doc Manders, will be back on the island, or should be back on the island. He'll be joining me next week. So, again, Clay, thank you very much for coming on and giving the challenges side of what took place over the 2 days of cup match. Congratulations to the Somerset Cricket Club for defending that trophy. It's something that I know St. George's will be looking to wrestle away next year at the Wellington Oval. How's that?
Cool. Definitely.
Have a good night.
Cool. Bye-bye.